Good evening, dear friends. Today we will do a set of exercises to improve our eyesight. There will be two types of exercises, one for those who are farsighted and another for those who are nearsighted. That is, those who. And in short, we will discuss what to do in each case and do two sets of exercises. To begin with, to motivate you, I'll tell you my own story, because a positive example, I think, will also have a positive effect on you and motivate you to practice and train. When I was in school, my eyesight was perfect. It was good. But by the end of my studies, because I loved reading books, maybe because I read them in the wrong position, lying down, I really loved reading while lying down, like this. Lie down on a little pillow, put your head down, take a book and read. But unfortunately, I didn't read according to the school curriculum. I loved different detective stories and read a lot every day. I might not finish a whole book in a day, but I read a significant part of it. Because of this, as you can see, I developed such a rich vocabulary. Many people asked this question, and now you've got the answers. So, my friends, maybe that's why it started to get worse. I started to notice that my vision wasn't as clear as before, but it wasn't bad enough to worry about. And when I was already in my second year, I think, at medical school, we had a medical checkup where our whole class was gathered in the gym. They quickly sent us to various doctors, one after another, just like that. Among them was an ophthalmologist who checked my vision, and it turned out that my eyesight had gotten quite a bit worse. Maybe it was all because there was extra strain on my eyes. I had to read a lot of scientific medical literature, and, to put it simply, well, as far as I remember, I think I saw something from these two lines. So, if we look from the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth and sixth lines were clearly visible right here. And then further there was something unclear, kind of blurry. So that started to worry me, and I realized I needed to do something about it. And I also noticed in everyday life that it was hard to make out the number of an approaching trolleybus E. And I decided to tackle this issue thoroughly. I started trying different exercises. Some of them gave results, E, while others just caused tension in my eyes. And I discovered a pattern. Some of the exercises needed a bit of improvement, so I started to adjust them a bit to suit myself. I began to notice which ones gave better results and which ones didn't, and eventually I managed to restore my vision. That's how it happened. The last time I had such a checkup was probably about 3 years ago, when I was renewing my driver's license. Or maybe it was, some time ago, not too long ago, I also had a checkup. And basically they tell me here, read this line, and it's not the very bottom line. It's actually the third one from the bottom. I read it and I say, wait, there are still 2 more lines down there. So the ophthalmologist was surprised and asked, you can see those 2 lines as well? I said, well, of course. I read every letter to her clearly and loudly, and she was surprised. She said, that means your eyesight is even better than perfect. She said, keep that in mind. I said, I see, but that's because of my training. And she got interested. So, basically, you can actually improve your eyesight even more, so that it's even better than perfect. Can you imagine? It turns out that kind of vision exists too. There's a standard for what you should be able to see, like the bottom line, for example. And then, if you move farther away and can still see, it doesn't necessarily mean your vision is considered better than perfect. But it doesn't hurt to develop it if someone wants to. For most people, though, it's enough just to have something close to perfect vision. That's one direction, meaning to make sure we see well at a distance. The second is to make sure we see well up close. What is age-related farsightedness? We can see things at a distance more or less clearly, but we have trouble seeing up close. We already have to wear glasses to read. I'll also show you how to deal with this. So friends, not just to deal with it, but even to improve it. If you've developed this, you can make it so you can read without glasses again, if that's what you want. If you're used to glasses, then please turn this off and don't bother us anymore. And for us, lovers of a healthy lifestyle and sharp vision, an exciting journey into the world of eye exercises awaits. So, friends, as science and all of us know today, the eye is surrounded by extraocular muscles, and inside the eye there are muscles that change the curvature of the lens. Both types are necessary for the mechanism of focusing vision. That is, there are different theories, but in practice, look at what happens. Focusing vision is accompanied by eye movement. That is, some people don't really pay much attention to the extraocular muscles at all. Although there are vision restoration methods that are based purely on training the oculomotor muscles, they are also quite successful. And we will pay attention to both, and it is necessary to achieve synchronization of their work. The extraocular muscles, it's clear what they do. One of their functions is to move the eyes while the head is fixed. In short, it's the movement of the eyeball in different directions. Because there are several of them, they are positioned at different angles. X. The movement of the eyeballs is almost unlimited in any direction. They can move left and right, up and down in any direction. The muscles inside our eye, the ciliary muscle, have fibers running in several directions. Change the curvature of the lens X. Change the thickness of the lens, and because of this we are able to focus. In short, because of this, the focus lands on the retina thanks to the fact that our lens has changed its curvature. The muscle is located around it and has fibers running in several directions. These are the circular fibers, and these are the radial fibers, like this. And some muscles make our lens flatter by compressing it, while others stretch it and do the opposite. The ones that compress it make it more convex, and the ones that stretch it make it flatter. That's the theory. The main thing is that you manage to do all of this in practice right now. Now I'll show you how I train, how I am training, how I will train, and I wish the same for you. And specifically these exercises, when I notice that my vision becomes a little bit worse, when it starts to fail a bit, because sometimes it starts to depend on the lighting. That's the first sign that you need to pay a little attention to your eyesight. For me personally, it's the dependence on lighting. When I see that in brighter light, I start to see more clearly than in dim light. At that moment, I start doing the exercises again and achieve phenomenal results once more, which I wish for you as well. So friends, let's start with nearsightedness. That is, we begin by improving our distance vision. For this, we'll need a classic eye chart, which is perfect for the task. This is for those who are literate. For those who, for example, are too young to know letters or don't know the alphabet, there are various types like this available.
Aging doesn't just appear in your joints or back, it also shows on your skin as loss of firmness, fine lines, and wrinkles. This is what happens to your skin as you get older. But all those issues are exactly what Okowa is clinically designed to address, and with my exclusive coupon code, you can get a 15% discount. As a doctor, when it comes to visible skin firming and facial rejuvenation, I often recommend Okwa. Proper skin preparation is essential. First, cleanse and dry your skin, then rub it between your fingers. The texture is lightweight. Apply it especially near the eyes and on the cheeks.
Look at this side with Okowa. It's smoother, tighter, more lifted, and even glowing. My natural skin wrinkles, and the difference is clear.
With consistent use, women notice reduced fine lines, a more lifted appearance, and improved skin quality over time. Scan the QR code or click the link below. Use code ALEXEEV15 and get 15% off.
Funny little figures. Here, this will work too. There's a teapot, an elephant, a Christmas tree, a duck, an airplane, and a toadstool. You can use these as well. Their effectiveness won't be any different. The first exercise is also diagnostic. It will help you choose the position for your main training sessions. Look, the first one is a warm-up, and then it will also be practical at the same time. You can do this right away with the chart, or you can do it right in front of the screen, looking straight into my eyes right now, like this. Fix your gaze on a certain point. For example, look at my right or left eye or somewhere on my nose. Just try to look at one point. And now, what do? Turn your head to the left and back, face forward. Turn back straight, turn straight. And all this time, try not to take your eyes off the point you're looking at. You can blink while doing this. Do this movement to one side, then to the other side, to the left, to the right. Next, combine these 2 points, these 2 movements. Now turn to the left, to the right, so it becomes a full movement. You don't need to turn your neck to the maximum. Do it only as long as you maintain contact with the point you're looking at. In other words, you don't need to try to turn further. So the turn is actually quite small. Your eyes reach the limit of their movement and you don't need to try to do more. That's enough. Do this movement without much tension. To one side, to the other side, that was the first movement. You do about 10 repetitions like this. 5 to 10 repetitions to one side, then to the other side. So in this way, you are warming up your eye muscles. Now the second movement, up and straight, up and straight, and also look at one point. Don't take your eyes off it. Next, down and straight, down and straight. You can do it sitting, you can do it standing, but lying down will probably be uncomfortable for your head. It won't turn as easily up, down. The same thing, do the movement 5 to 10 times this way, 5 to 10 times that way. And also do the movement 10 times up and down. You don't need to strain your neck too much here. If you feel any discomfort in your neck area, watch the video about the neck and do the neck exercises. So the next movement, now watch what happens. We turn and our eye ends up at the edge of its movement, as you can see. Now focus on this eye, the one closer to you, not the one that's blocked by your nose. With this movement, more active information comes from this eye. And we move down and up. You can make it a bit easier too by splitting the movement in half. So raise it up, lower it, and here lower it down, raise it, lower it down to the middle. And then we do the full movement. We also try not to take our eyes off the point you're looking at. The same thing can be done on the other side as well. You can split it in half, moving up and down, to one side, then to the other. The next movement, we lift our head up. Our eye ends up at the lower edge, as if at the bottom of the eye socket. And in this position, it's the same thing. 5 to 10 times to one side, 5 to 10 times to the other side. The full movement is to one side, then to the other, to one side, then to the other.
Third, or maybe not third. You count for yourself. So we lower our head down. Lowered it down. Or, well, maybe it's not very comfortable here. When you lower your head down, it's not very comfortable to move your head from side to side. Here's the second option. You can still look up and in this position also move to one side, then to the other side. So that's two options.
Turn left and right, left and right. So now we've gone along the edges, along the edge of the movement, basically. So what did we do together? First, we did the movement to the right and left, horizontally. We did the up and down movement from the central points. Then we did the movement at the far left and far right points. Right here, like this. Then we did the right and left movement at the upper points and at the lower points. So we moved everywhere. And there were places where the movement was easier, more comfortable, more familiar, but there were also positions where it was almost impossible to keep your gaze fixed on one point. But for me personally, at first, the most difficult part was this upper area, that is, when the eye is in the upper position. It was hardest to hold this position. Later, with time and training, there was no difference. And one of the side positions was also difficult. Now, I can't say for sure, I don't remember. But you need to keep this in mind during training. For example, hit E, just like me, let's say you have a more difficult position, E. It's useful to do this movement near a mirror too. You'll notice it right away that with certain movements your head turns freely, but for example in some positions it starts to wobble like this. This also indicates that the movement of your eyes and neck muscles isn't synchronized, so you need to pay more attention to this movement. And let's say this position turned out to be worse than all the others. Then your training should be in the position where your eyes are directed upward. In that case, it will be more convenient for you to place the chart somewhere a bit higher. And you yourself, let's say, will be sitting and training so that you have to look slightly upward, like this. That is, your main training will be exactly in this position. If you notice that your middle position is a bit worse, then you will need to train at about eye level. If you notice that the lower position is the worst, then train looking down. We won't touch the sides for now. Right now, we're only determining the up and down level. Let's say you can even try it in different positions. If, for example, you didn't notice a difference, it will still be useful to practice in the upper position, in the middle, and in the lower one. But often mobility is worse in this upper position, so most of the time you have to work on that. Sitting, looking up, doing the exercise. Well, for most people, because this particular mobility is less developed. So that was our first stage, both a warm-up and a diagnostic at the same time. Now we're going to do this set of exercises together. It gives good results. How do classic mobility exercises differ? So everyone who has ever tried to train or improve their vision with exercises knows about the exercise where we look to the side, right, left, up and down. It's not a very good exercise because the eye moves in a jerky way, not as smoothly as if, for example, we keep the eye fixed and move the head. It's almost the same as if we were moving the eye, but because at the moment when we move the eye, whether we want it or not, the eye starts to focus on objects, and at that moment the ciliary muscle gets overloaded. If there are problems with it, it's not very good for it. But there's an option to do these exercises with your eyes closed. But the downside is that it doesn't affect the eye muscles very well. But they're separated from the rest, kind of too isolated from everything else during these exercises. Although it's better than doing them with your eyes open. So now let's move on to the next exercise for the lens. There's a claim that our lens keeps growing throughout our life, and that's why it loses its elasticity. And whether we want it or not, farsightedness awaits everyone over time. But let's see, I challenge that. The claims of ophthalmologists and the growing lens. Maybe it's possible to preserve its elasticity by using these exercises. Let's see for now. I can read without using glasses. My vision is clear both at a distance and up close. Let's see if I can keep it that way. Let's meet in 15 or 20 years. Then you'll check and tell me if I managed to do it or not. And that goes for you too. So watch. Here we are training this ciliary muscle. The first signs that something is wrong with it are these. Well, it's obvious when you can't see very well up close. It's when you look at something up close, shift your gaze into the distance, and things are a bit blurry. Your vision doesn't focus right away. So this also means that there is such a thing as accommodation spasm. Your muscle has become less elastic, and the lens itself is also losing its elasticity. Let's gradually work on restoring this elasticity. So, for this, you have a chart prepared. And you, let's say, at this distance, you can see all the lines clearly. And you start to move back a little, finding a distance at which you start. Well, let's do it like this, so I don't go too far. As if I can see this line well, but here it's already a bit blurry. So I stood up, found that distance. Well, let's say you start at arm's length for starters. If here you already have lines that you can see clearly and where the image is not very good, you stay at this distance. But if you see everything well here, then you need to move a little farther away. So you move farther away, and for example, now you have a line that you can't see very well. These could be letters, or they could be funny images, various ones. And you start training. Here's a blurry line. You pick one or maybe two letters. It also depends on the width, on the field of vision. By the way, there's also a set of exercises for expanding your field of vision and how to improve your eyesight by improving your peripheral vision. That's also included in the exercise set, so take a look at it. We found a blurry line. Now let's pick a letter. But if your field of vision is wide, when you look at one letter, you'll also be able to see the letters on the sides, for example, 2 or even 2 on each side, and you focus on one particular letter. You look at it, and what do you start doing? You take a small step forward and the image becomes clearer, and when you move back, it becomes blurry again. Choose a range of movement so that you don't walk too much, but you can still feel this difference. So it's about one step. So you take a step and you see more clearly. You step back, the image becomes blurry. Clearer, then it gets blurry. Step to a distance, find a distance, get closer so that you can see this letter clearly. That is, for example, here I see the letter M, let's say, not very well. I take a step, here I see it well. But I notice that at half a step away, I can already see it. So I stop half a step away, I find the distance. Here I can see it, here I can't see it anymore, here I can see it, here I can't see it. And for almost a minute, you keep making this movement. You step forward, then step back, step forward, then step back. It doesn't matter which leg you use. You can do it with one or the other. Just keep making these movements. E. The next step is to find a distance where there is a clear line and a blurry line. Ibd. Start focusing your gaze on any blurry letter and start doing these turns that we did in the previous exercise. Right, left, up, down, 10, 15, 20 movements. And after some time, for example, a minute or two, you notice that the image has become clearer. Here, if the distance allows, you can take a step further back if you're working with the lower lines. If the distance in the room doesn't allow you to do that, then just shift your gaze to a line that's lower. E. And keep doing the same thing, making these movements. If you notice that in some positions your mobility is better and in others it's worse, you can use that as well. So for example, if you notice that in the top position, here's the first exercise we did, the movement feels a bit tighter, less coordinated. You can either hang a chart up high and walk like this, looking up and down. Just don't lift your head, but make sure your head stays straight, so your gaze moves up here like this. Or you can do this while sitting on a chair, but on a chair you can do the turns, but you won't get the up and down movement. The same thing, yes. Then you continue with the tilt, looking at your blurry letter, tilting to one side, and then the other may create some uncomfortable positions, you'll notice. Stay in those positions a little longer. Then, over time, you'll be able to do this lower and lower. Exercises for those who have trouble seeing up close, they're very similar. The principle is the same. But everything needs to be done at a close distance now. You can use a chart, or in everyday life, you can use your own phone. And here it's more convenient if you use a chart. You can also move closer or farther away. But here the range isn't that big. So you do it here and you do it there. And especially during exercises. For farsightedness. Since most of the time we read like this, right here you see. So our muscle gets used to working in a certain position and there's a certain muscle spasm as well. This kind of muscle imbalance develops because of the constant downward position of the eye. That's why there isn't enough load when looking up, and exercising in this position is also helpful. So after this kind of exercise, you'll notice that even the areas that were overstrained will relax. Because if we put a load on a muscle that hasn't worked for a long time, blood will flow there and it will feel better, and the one that was overstrained will relax. So another feature of this workout, up close, it's important to have good lighting here, meaning when we're training something up close. But if you're doing this on your phone, you'll already have good lighting, right? Still, it's better if everything around you is well lit too. But if you're doing it, for example, with a chart, it's good to hang it on the window like this during the day. This is specifically for close-up training. But when you practice a little farther away, that's where it gets interesting. You actually don't need bright lighting. When I was training, I noticed this effect. If you practice in, well, not very bright lighting, and learn to see. For example, in dim lighting, you can see this line, Rovkax. And in good, clear lighting, you can easily see this one. So, you can also use this in your training. So, friends, I don't have time to tell you everything. But even what I've shown you now gives very good results. What else can I say? Try it out and let me know how it worked for you. Until next time.